Tonight we examine a deal that's not just making headlines, but fundamentally redrawing the map of global power, one that could alter the balance of influence for decades to come. In a world where alliances are shifting and old certainties are crumbling, this agreement stands out as a pivotal moment in the ongoing contest for technological and economic supremacy. This time, the battleground isn't on land or sea, but high above us, in the skies, where the future of commercial aviation is being rewritten before our eyes. Russia has agreed to supply its advanced PD-14 engines for China's flagship passenger jet, the COMAC C919. This move forges a powerful new aerospace axis, uniting two of the world's most ambitious nations, in a partnership that directly challenges decades of Western dominance in the skies. It's a bold step, signaling a willingness to break free from the technological grip of the West. For years, Boeing and Airbus have been the undisputed giants, controlling the global market and setting the standards for commercial aviation. China's C919, despite its promise, remained tethered to Western technology, unable to fully compete on its own terms. But this partnership with Russia changes everything. By securing a reliable supply of engines, China can now mass-produce its jets without the looming threat of Western sanctions or export bans. It's a game-changer for Chinese industry, opening the door to new markets and greater independence. The European Union is furious, viewing the deal as a direct challenge to its efforts to isolate Russia economically. To many in Brussels, this agreement is more than just business. It's a lifeline to Russia's war economy and a blow to the united front against Moscow's actions. For China, the memory of the US export ban in 2025 still stings. That moment exposed the country's vulnerability and underscored the need for self-reliance. Now, with Russia's help, China is determined to secure its industrial ambitions and ensure its place as a global aviation powerhouse. Together, Russia and China are sending a clear message. The era of uncontested Western supremacy in aviation is coming to an end. Their collaboration is already sending shockwaves through the industry, rattling investors and forcing competitors to rethink their strategies. In this episode, we'll break down how this historic partnership came to be, explore the forces driving it, and reveal what it means for the future of global aviation, and for the world at large. To grasp the impact of this deal, we need to understand the C919. The C919 is China's answer to the Airbus A320 and Boeing 737, a symbol of its ambition to move up the global value chain. But until now, it relied on Western engines, specifically the LEAP-1C, from a US-French joint venture. This dependency was China's Achilles heel, exposed by a US export ban. China's own engine program, the CJ1000A, has faced delays and won't be ready for years. As a result, COMAC's production was bottlenecked, unable to meet domestic or export demand. Every C919 built was a reminder of China's reliance on its rivals. The vulnerability was clear, and the need for a new partner, urgent. That's where Russia enters the picture. The turning point came in summer 2025, when the US abruptly suspended exports of critical aerospace tech to China. The ban halted shipments of LEAP-1C engines and key avionics, threatening to shut down C919 production. Washington cited national security, but the move was seen as a hardball tactic in the tech war. For 6 weeks, China's aviation dream was on hold, its vulnerability exposed. The ban was lifted after US companies lobbied fiercely, warning it would only push China to seek alternatives. The damage was done. China realized it could be grounded by a single US policy decision. The lesson for Beijing was clear. Reliance on the West was too risky. The search for a sanction-proof partner began. The answer: Moscow. Years of sanctions forced Russia to build its own aerospace industry, culminating in the PD-14 engine. Designed for Russia's MC-21 jet, the PD-14 is a modern, non-Western alternative to the LEAP engine. In January 2026, Russia's United Engine Corporation signed a landmark deal to supply PD-14 engines for the C919. For China, this secures its flagship project and breaks the West's technological chokehold. For Russia, it opens a massive new market and revenue stream. The deal creates a sanction-proof supply chain for the C919. Both nations gain strategic independence and send a clear message: Western efforts to isolate them have failed. The global balance in aviation is shifting. The EU's reaction was swift and furious. Brussels sees the Russia-China deal as a direct blow to its sanctions regime and a lifeline to Russia's defense industry. The deal replaces a leading European manufacturer with a sanctioned Russian company on China's flagship jet. EU officials are now considering new sanctions targeting Chinese state-owned enterprises involved in the deal. Such a move could trigger a tit-for-tat economic conflict, with China potentially disrupting Airbus operations in Tianjin. The stakes are high. Europe risks a major trade war with its largest partner. Leaders feel trapped, responding risks economic pain, but inaction signals weakness. The deal exposes the limits of Europe's leverage. The global order is under strain. In Washington, the mood is one of frustration and regret. The US export ban, meant to show strength, instead pushed China to find a non-Western partner. American firms like GE warned this would happen, and now face losing a huge market. The deal gives Russia a foothold in global aviation, validating its technology and funding future development. US policymakers now face a dilemma: escalate with more sanctions and risk a trade war, or accept a new reality where their leverage is diminished. The attempt to isolate China has only made it more resilient and strengthened its ties with Russia. The US is left grappling with a world it helped create, where rivals collaborate to bypass American power. The consequences are profound and lasting. The Russia-China engine deal signals the rise of a new, non-Western aerospace bloc. For decades, the West's control of jet engine technology gave it immense leverage. Now Russia's PD-14 and China's C919 break that monopoly, creating an independent ecosystem. COMAC may not challenge Boeing and Airbus globally overnight, but it can dominate China's vast domestic market. This partnership could expand into wide-body jets, regional aircraft, and even military tech. The world is seeing the start of a split Western-led aviation versus a China-Russia axis. Airlines and nations may soon have to choose sides, not just on price, but on politics. The era of a unified global aviation industry is ending. We spoke to Dr. Alistair Haynes, a leading aviation analyst at the Global Strategy Institute, to get his perspective on the seismic shifts underway in the global aviation industry. Dr. Haynes has spent decades studying the strategies of major aircraft manufacturers and the evolving dynamics of international markets. According to Dr. Haynes, the recent Russia-China partnership is nothing short of a geopolitical earthquake. While it's tempting to imagine Boeing and Airbus facing immediate collapse, he's cautions that these industry giants have deep roots and global reach. Their dominance won't disappear overnight, but the ground beneath them is undeniably shifting. One major challenge for the new alliance is technology. The Russian PD-14 engine, for example, is still unproven compared to the decades of reliability offered by Western engines. Airlines and regulators are slow to trust new technology, and building that trust takes years of flawless performance and support. Yet the real threat to the duopoly is not immediate, but long-term. This deal gives COMAC, China's ambitious aircraft manufacturer, the scale and resources to learn quickly, improve their products, and close the technology gap with Western rivals at a much faster pace than before. The C919, now shielded from US sanctions thanks to Russian collaboration, is positioned to attract countries that are wary of Western political pressure. For many emerging markets, this aircraft represents not just a new option, but a symbol of independence from traditional power centers. In today's world, buying a jet is rarely just a business decision. It's a political statement, one that could shift dramatically as global alliances and rivalries intensify, and as countries seek to assert their sovereignty. The Russia-China deal transforms the C919 from a commercial product into a powerful tool of statecraft. It's now a vehicle for influence, diplomacy, and even soft power projection on the world stage. With state-backed financing and government support, China and Russia can offer attractive deals, building dependencies and influence among airlines and governments that might otherwise have stuck with Boeing or Airbus. The duopoly's market share is now under real threat, but perhaps more importantly, the very rules of the aviation game are being rewritten as new players and new alliances reshape the competitive landscape. As the C919 takes flight, a new era of global aviation competition is dawning, one that could redefine the industry for decades to come. We end with a single deal that's exposed deep fractures in the global order. What once seemed like a stable, interconnected world has been shaken to its core, revealing tensions and rivalries that have simmered beneath the surface for years. The global landscape is no longer defined by cooperation, but by competition and suspicion. Russia powering China's C919 is a pivotal moment, proof that efforts to isolate and contain have backfired, forging a powerful new alliance. This partnership signals a dramatic shift in the balance of power, as two major players unite to challenge the dominance of the West. It's not just about building an airplane, it's about building a new world order, one where old alliances are questioned and new ones are born out of necessity. The EU is poised to retaliate, risking a trade war. The US faces a strategic failure of its own making. As economic tensions rise, uncertainty spreads through markets and boardrooms alike. Leaders scramble to respond, but the consequences of past decisions are now impossible to ignore. The world's economic giants are no longer moving in sync, but drifting further apart. The aviation industry, once a symbol of cooperation, now faces a split into rival blocks. Factories that once shared technology and talent now guard their secrets, and the dream of a truly global industry is fading. The skies are becoming battlegrounds for influence, innovation, and control. The Boeing-Airbus duopoly faces its greatest challenge, not just commercially, but geopolitically. New competitors are emerging, backed by powerful states with ambitions that go far beyond profit. The rules of the game are changing, and the old giants must adapt or risk being left behind. Are we witnessing the end of the integrated global economy? As borders harden and trust erodes, the systems that once connected us are breaking down. Trade routes are disrupted, negotiations stall, and the promise of globalization is under threat as never before. The choices made in the coming months will shape the world for decades. Leaders face impossible decisions weighing national interests against global stability. Every move is a gamble, and the stakes could not be higher. The skies, once a symbol of connection, are now a new front in the struggle for power. Airspace is contested, and every flight is a reminder of the shifting alliances and growing mistrust that define this new era. The story of the C919 is just beginning, and its consequences will reach us all. In this divided world, every decision echoes far beyond borders, shaping the future of industries, nations, and the very fabric of global society.